I'm Old Sneelock. Welcome to another episode of Old Sneelock's Workshop. Just recently I stopped by the Restore and I walked out of there with this thing. Now what exactly is it? It is marked General, number 810, made in USA. And I knew immediately what it was because I have a General number 809 made in USA. This one's, I believe, a little bit older than this one because this one is rather inexpensively made. It works well. It doesn't really fit in with the tools that I have because this is mostly plastic. Whereas this one is die-cast aluminum, steel, has a very hefty bolt threaded into it, and it lets you sharpen a plane blade or a chisel or any one of 100 other things. Now how does it do that? So what I want to do is get this sitting flat, and clamped in tight. And what I want to see is I want to see this plane blade sitting flat on the sandpaper all the way across. Then I'm going to start with the coarse side. Now I want to set the angle so that this blade has enough clearance that it's going to cut easily. So I set the blade in the fixture and I run it across the sandpaper. Then I look at the grit pattern. It's a little too high in the back. And what that's doing is making it touch on the front edge a little too much. Now we're getting a good edge on it. The angle was a little too flat before. We're going to go about 30 degrees. Now normally I'd use the water wheel and the big grinder and take this down first. But then I wouldn't get to use this nice general fixture as much. And I like showing people how they can do things with what they have. You may not have a general sharpening jig, but you certainly can have one very similar to it, because you can buy these at pretty much any hardware store. Of course, the new ones are going to look like this. I want to have this edge up against the inside of the frame there, because that's going to hold it square. The other thing you can do is you can use the square itself to check your work. Got a ways to go. I'm going to flip this around to get some fresh sandpaper. The thumping sound that you're hearing is the wheel going over that hole. Since it has two wheels, it doesn't really drop. It just makes a noise as it goes over the hole. I'm starting to get a wire edge along that. You can feel it by running your fingernail across it. That wire edge tells me that I've cut the whole angle all the way across, and I'm ready to slip over here to the finer sandpaper. This is 80 grit. This is 100 grit. This is 120 and this is 150. Once you've got it down so you're getting the wire edge, it doesn't take a whole lot to get it down, because all you're doing now is you're taking out the scratches from the 100 grit, and the 120 takes out the 100 grit scratches, the 150 takes out the 120 grit scratches. The 80 and the 100 were just to rough in the angle. Now I'm actually getting the edge trued up and taking out the scratches and making the blade sharper as I go. If I started out with, say, 600 grit, it would take me forever to get this angle right. So it's better to step up through the grits. 120 grit, 150 grit. And why do I have those grits? Well, because when I found this lovely group of sandpaper rolls on a dispenser in a place up in Hastings, that's what came with it. And I was just tickled to death. Kind of like when I found this for $2 at the Restore. This is a Norton sharpening stone, coarse on this side and fine on this side. Since we've already done all the shaping, we won't be having to struggle through the coarse side. A little bit of oil on the stone. And then we just polish. Now we have a nice edge on that. So we can take the coarse side and take off the wire edge. A little bit more oil on the fine side. You got to kind of watch your fingers when you're doing this. I was doing something I shouldn't be doing. I had my fingers close to the edge. Doesn't take much to kind of overstrike, and this edge is now razor sharp. It would take a nice chunk out of my finger or my thumb. Yep, that's going to do a good job. Now, I haven't done anything to this plane other than just sharpen the blade. No fancy tricks to it, nothing. I always want to set the cap iron so it's just a little bit back from the edge, maybe as little as a 1/16 of an inch. Because what that does is reinforce the edge so that as it's going through the wood, it tends to flex. Because these blades are thin. That was one of the things that Stanley did. Is they made thin blades. And then they put this cap iron over the top of it. And when you latch this down, it forces that cap iron down and holds the edge of the blade. After a good sharpening, we're taking nice chips. I was able to make some pretty nice cuts, but I was having to do a lot of Kentucky windage. The bottom of this plane is not flat. It rocks. And it also has a pretty deep groove right here in the middle. It's only rubbing along the outside edges. So as it cuts, these outside edges are cutting thinner and thinner as they get out to them. So as I was going along, I ended up taking just a fine cut along the edge. Like that, rather than a cut all the way across the whole surface like I wanted to. And that's because this plane is old. It needs to be trued up. The base is not flat. So the wood goes into this center and it actually sinks down into the plane. If it's sitting out here on the edge, like you're trying to plane like this, it's not doing anything. If I set it up so that this thin part hits the middle, then I'm able to take a cut, and the plane blade is sharp. It's doing a fine job of cutting. It's just the thing that's carrying the plane blade is cupped. So what I want to do is flatten off the bottom of this. And that's what we'll do in our next video. We'll set this up and take this bottom down straight and square to the sides. Because this old Bailey is in pretty rough shape. It came in a box of junk planes. I bought a box of planes and they were in really rough shape. Bits and pieces and half planes, and some kind of worked and some didn't. I paid $20 for the whole box. The box was twice as big as this. And in it I got 3 good planes that worked well. So 3 good planes for $20 I figured was a good price. Plus I got all these bits and pieces to play with. And I just grabbed it out because I needed one with a dull blade. And now, since we got started on it, might as well finish. I also want to show you how to sharpen a chisel in this. even one of these big guys. And to do that, we're probably going to use the stone holder that I made up. This is a kludged up thing made out of scrap wood, but it works really good to hold the stone straight and flat. And this gives me a ramp for the roller to ride on, so I can go the full length of the stone. If you have any suggestions for a new video, questions about today's video, or any of the other videos on the channel, just drop a note in the comments. You know I read them all. Thanks for watching.
This video is not to be viewed by anyone under the age of 13 in the U.S. or 16 in the European Union without the express written permission of the parents or the legal guardians of the underage person. Such written permission must be on file at the local government entity in charge of enforcing the rules and regulations established by the FTC. Anyone violating these terms is admitting by default that they hold harmless the owners and operators of this channel. Any and all questions should be addressed to your local branch of the FTC.